Hi, everybody. This is Tony and Soccer Savant. This is a new soccer channel where I'm going to talk about USMNT and international soccer and then MLS as well, but mostly focused on St. Louis City. Talk a little bit about two great matches yesterday. There was the U20 win over Ecuador, and then there was St. Louis City's win over Sporting Kansas City. And this, I'm going to focus a little more on the St. Louis City game. Rather than get too much into the great win over Ecuador for the U20s. But yeah, so I mean, let's just dive right in again to this game. So St. Louis coming off of really pretty poor patch there, two losses to Chicago, one in the Open Cup and one in MLS. Kansas City, after a really poor start, had beaten Seattle, Minnesota, and tied LAFC away. So they were on a really good run. So this match looked like it could really go either way. St. Louis, teams were sort of going in opposite directions. Then we have this delay where the game is delayed a bit. And I wonder, if there was a little bit of luck there because the game was also delayed when St. Louis came back to play Cincinnati at home after a couple of losses. And then they just destroyed Cincinnati in that 5-1 victory. So tonight, or last night, I should say, Kansas City comes in and they come out and they play decently right off the start. And Alan Pulido, the Mexican number 9, gets a great chance, hits a ball that's deflected, takes a shot that's deflected off of, is it Hebert or I think it's Hebert. And right then, in that moment, Kansas City could have gone up 1-0 because it's a deflected shot and it's heading straight into the goal. And Berkey switches and makes this great reaction save to keep it 0-0. And then shortly after that, we score the first goal, and it's a penalty kick that we win off of great defensive pressure. I think it's Tim Parker comes in, pressures the ball. Indy Vassilev got a great game. Indy then hits a 1-2 to Leuven, who finds Gioacchini, and Gioacchini, who's been under a lot of pressure, and I've been one of his critics, has a nice little flick back into the path for Indy. And what's interesting is that's a penalty kick 50% of the time, I think. It's hard to say. But up until this point, St. Louis hasn't gotten any of the penalty kick calls. Like both when they've had a 50-50 call in the box, they haven't gotten it. And on the flip side, they've had, I think, twice penalty kicks given to the other team on sort of soft penalties. So I guess you just say St. Louis was due rather than it was a soft or a lucky call. I think those get called 50% of the time. Lewin steps up and strikes it. And then we have a similar second goal. Where this is St. Louis doing its best, where it's again, we win the ball high up the field. And this is Blom. And I'm going to definitely sing some of Blom's praises here because he's finally stepped into this club. It felt like he's finally stepped onto the field, and he makes a great slide tackle that occasionally is a foul. The way he goes in there, it's a strong challenge. I've seen those blown, but it's not a clear foul. And the ref plays on. It's a clean foul. Stroud picks it up. Jared Stroud right there hits this sweet no-look pass right into the path of Indy, who's there, and he takes a step around Graham Zusi, makes Zusi look like the elderly gentleman that he is, and hits a low shot that, interestingly, this is a shot that Berkey may save, but they have their backup keeper in there, McIntosh, I think is his name, and he gets a hand on it, but isn't able to keep it out. And so now we're up 2-0. And right in that moment, you think if all you did was switch the goalkeepers and everything else was exactly the same, but Kansas City had Berkey in goal and we had McIntosh in goal, you think McIntosh probably doesn't make that save on the deflected shot. And Berkey probably does make the save there. So it's probably 1-1. Instead, it's 2-0 going in just based on the goalkeepers. And then in the second half, obviously it's two more great goals. Particularly, I want to highlight the last goal where Ostrak comes in and gets the ball and then plays a great 1-2. Not a 1-2. He has a great run down the side, and then Indy Vassilev is coming around the side. You can just watch the play develop in slow motion. The pass comes in. It's a little tiny pass. It's the perfect little touch from Ostrak so that Indy can hit it first time. And rather than try to slam it at the near post, he opens his body and with his left launches this nice curling shot around the goalkeeper. Great 4-0 win. Berkey makes a bunch of saves towards the end of the game. So let's just talk a little bit about what I like to say is the good, the bad, and the ugly for the performances. And so first of all, there's a lot of good about this game. Let's focus on the attack first. I've been very critical of Gioacchini, and I thought that he's just so clearly not at Klaus's level. It's a little harsh to say he's not at the MLS level, but so many attacks break down with Gioacchini, and particularly against Chicago, he was poor. But tonight, or last night, I should say, I keep saying tonight because it's early in the morning and I watched the game pretty late. Nico, he did well. He made a lot of nice runs in behind. He still lost the ball a lot. He still doesn't win the aerial challenges. He doesn't combine well with Lubin. He doesn't necessarily combine. He's not quite good enough on the pass and on the combinations. But he had, the flick that wins the penalty. He had another nice moment in the first half where he chests the ball down, gets a 1-2 with Stroud, I think, and hits a nice shot at the near post that the goalie saved. The goalie wasn't awful. McIntosh had a couple of nice saves, actually. He had 3 or 4 nice saves, even though, with an even worse goalie, we might have scored more. But then, in the second half, again, watching him as the second half starts, and again, he's losing the headers, the balls that are launched down there. He's not winning those. He gets the ball and he misses a pass. And I'm just sort of like, oh man, when are we going to get a better attacker? And then he has that breakaway where, the ball it's a miscue in the midfield by Kansas City defense. One guy tries to clear it and it sort of bounces around and just ends up right on the path of Stroud. Stroud slide tackles and knocks it forward to Nico. And Nico takes a touch and then he takes another touch that's actually a heavy touch. And I'm like, okay, there we go. The goalie's going to come out and get it. It turns out it's the perfect distance. And so I'm going to give Nico credit that it was intentionally a heavy touch that makes the goalie, this is a strategy on a breakaway, is you want to play the ball in a place where the goalie thinks he can get it, but can't quite. And it was perfect because the goalie comes out and then Nico has, just a world-class finish, this little curling chip right over the goalie and into the goal. So I got to give Nico some credit. I still think that Bradley Carnell and Lutz we need to bring in some more talent. Absolutely. But Nico had a good game, and he also does some things. He did some things in this match that he hasn't done recently, which is stretching the game, running in behind. He's not good enough to drop in and really be a major part of the attack in terms of combinations. Well, he did that a little bit. It's when he's running and occupying the defense and stretching the field. And he does that well enough. We need another attacker. I really think Bradley Carnell needs, to really make this team tick. He needs another attacker at the level of Klaus, or maybe somewhere between Nico and Klaus. Those should be not too hard to find without even DP money, but maybe with DP money, you can definitely find somebody like that. And then another attacking midfielder, because we do miss Alm. Alm is a bit too fragile. So let's talk about the rest of the attack. Indy, I think, was man of the match. Great performance. Just running up and down the field. The fact that he has the energy or the gas in the tank to make that 65-yard run to score that last goal when Ostrak gets the ball after he draws the penalty. Nico has the flick to get the penalty, but then Indy is the one that's running in and actually draws the penalty. Then he gets the second. So it's the first goal. Then he scores the second, dancing around Zusi, and then he scores the fourth as well. So he had a direct hand in 3 of the 4 goals, and he just had a great match. Another person, I thought Stroud played well. There were no real bad performances, I thought, of the starters, but Stroud played well after a little bit of a subpar run there against Chicago. We talked about Nico. Pompeo, he's still young and still growing into this club. He brings a lot of energy. His passing, he's not quite there yet. You got to hope that either Nico or Pompeo can grow into the starting role. Ideally, the third attacker. You want this team, I think, to have Klaus as leading the line. Somebody new we bring in as the second attacker, and then Nico and Pompeo should be fighting for the third spot in the attack. I think with the two of them, and you give them a year, one of them will start to take over that first person that comes off the bench in the attack when everybody's healthy. I'm just looking at myself on my collar. Then I think we really should talk about Blom. So of the 4 players that are injured, Blom is the one that came back in this match, and it was not the one I was expecting. I thought we'd see Klaus or maybe Alm, but of the main players that are out, there's Nielsen, Blom, or we're out, Blom, Klaus, and Alm. Alm is in and out of the lineup. He seems just to be fragile. I don't know that he's permanently hurt. It's just he's so we just need to know, is he going to be permanently, like, is he eventually going to get to full fitness or not? He is the next attacker, the next important attacker after same level as Indy, probably even a little better and more important than Indy, although Indy played great tonight. He's at about that same level, and we need Alm in, especially if we're not going to bring in another attacker, but he's out. Then we have Nielsen, who's been out for the whole season. He should be in any game now, and I think he should slot right in next to Tim Parker in the defense. It'll be interesting because Bartlett and Hebert have had great years. Really, they were poor against. I mean, the mixed performances, but generally definitely good. So it's going to be interesting to see if Nielsen is able to slot right in next to Parker. But then we have Klaus, who Bradley Carnell says is very close, and they could have played him in an emergency. I don't know what that would mean, an emergency, but they decided to rest him another week. Hopefully it's just one more week. And then finally we have Blom, who it sounds like is just getting up to full match fitness after his injury and after arriving. He has played before. It's not like this was his first time, but this was the first time he really had a real full performance for this club. And he's just second choice for man of the match right after Indy. He played the 6, and in a certain sense, him playing that stopper role, that 6, allowed Leuven and Indy to play more freely as the 8 and the 10. I think you'd say that Leuven pretty much was an 8, although he was all over the field. I saw him playing defense, slide tackling on his own goal line and line. He was, putting in defense all over the field. But I would say he was more clearly playing an 8 role. And I think Indy was able to play a more free 10 role because of Blom playing that 6. When he wins that tackle on the second goal and it frees up Stroud to hit that no-look pass, that's what you need in the middle of the field for this team, to have somebody like that. So to have Blom show up and really play, gave a really strong 75 minutes. And then, and then Miggy Perez comes in, and we've seen him, and he's good. He's young. He's not at this level yet. Maybe 2 to 3 years from now, like speculatively we could hope. And I think he'll feature for the U.S. at some point, possibly, optimistically. He's a decent player, but he's not at this level yet. And so the club is much better. We play much better with Blom in there than Perez. At least Blom, the way he played last night. What else? So that's the midfield. That's the attack. In defense, I think you just have to call out Berkey. Again, just an amazing match, and how they fought for the clean sheet at the end was amazing. And again, Berkey makes like 3-4 just amazing saves in the second half. And I think I was said the first half, if you switch the goalies, it's 1-1. I think if you switch the goalies for the whole match, it's a 2-2 match. I think one of those 2 breakaways is still a goal, even if you have Berkey in there, but he probably gets one of them. And then, and then I don't think McIntosh is saving all those shots at the end against Kansas City, if he's our goalie. So it's 2-2 at best, I think. So you got to give Berkey a ton of credit. The last thing I'll comment on here is I think it was a little funny, obviously, not to have Johnny Nelson in there and to have Hebert play as the right. He's the left. He plays like the left wing back with opposite Nerwinski. And it actually, I don't know if that helped maybe also give that solid defensive performance. I mean, we really didn't see a ton from the Kansas City attack. There was whole patches of the match that we were just dominating, and that freed up because of that defensive domination with those. We had 3 central defenders in there, and then we had Blom, and that just freed us up to go down and win the ball. All 4 of the goals Three of the four goals were balls that we won midfield or closer. It's the St. Louis City style now to win the ball there between midfield and their box and go in and put it in. We did three of those. So it was really back to the old St. Louis City from the first five matches. So that's the good. There's really not much bad or ugly to talk about. I would just say, there's a clear drop off when he sent the kids in, when Bradley sent the kids in, everybody was getting tired. City team was getting tired around the 70th minute, and Kansas City was going to really pile it on 75th minute, 78th minute. And he puts in Miguel Perez. He puts in this guy, John Klein, the third, whatever, who I guess is doing really well on City too. And so he deserved a call up because, we're just thin in attack. And then he puts in, who else goes in? And it was clear that there was a drop off there, even though they brought in a lot of energy. The talent is not there when you pull off Lubin and you pull off Blom. One other thing I'll say about Blom, I was already singing his praises, is he's better on the ball than some of our other midfielders, actually. So like he's better on the ball than Stroud in terms of holding the ball, possession, combining in tight spaces and things like that. And so he adds a bit to that flowing attack that we had in the first five matches, where you saw with like Klaus and Leuven and Indy Vasilev and Alm. They have just this slightly higher level of talent where they can combine on better one-touch passing and things like that. And Blom is at that level as well. You're seeing him combine a bit better with the midfielders around him. And so he adds something in possession as well, even though he's primarily what he adds is this real commitment to defense. He also adds something in the attack, just in terms of the ball flowing through him quickly. So that's what I got. Great win. Let me know in the comments below if this channel is interesting at all and what else I can do. I'm just somebody who's pays a lot of attention to soccer and loves to share it with others. Let me know what you think. Also on a Substack, Soccer Savant on Substack, and there's a Twitter account as well. We'll see if this goes anywhere. I'm just having fun watching soccer and talking about it. All right, best wishes, guys, and we'll talk to you soon.